virtual dynamic was really good. I was watching on Zoom, guys.
That's
Just
good.
meeting them and the different angles we were hitting them at, even closer for the presentation. It was a really great interactive experience for that Zoom. So
Giving them
it's
the
gonna be
value.
a good look tomorrow when y'all presenting. We're gonna be hitting you from different angles, getting your presentations. The audio
You
quality
guys
was
have been
really
so
good.
good today, man.
Okay. My name is Mumia Obsidian Ali, and I'm your Lord and Master. Okay, no, but no, my fellow Americans. Okay, no, seriously, my name is Mumia Obsidian Ali, and I am the host of a little gathering of the brothers, the partners of the third Black Manosphere conclave. Very, very happy to be here, and we're just going to have a little conversation with everybody here. And what we'll do is introduce everyone a little bit, and then we'll have a little back and forth and close it out. And I was going to start with Shannon. Is he going to come back? Okay. So yeah, here he is. So we're gonna start with that and give a little brief introduction, and we'll have a bit of back and forth. Shannon, and then we'll go around this way.
Well, welcome everybody. I appreciate you guys being here. Excuse my attire. I've been running logistics all day today. I'll be suited and booted tomorrow. I know the dress code. I was part of the people that set the dress code. But we need to make things happen, and I need to be comfortable. We had a wonderful first day. I appreciate you guys being here. My name is Shannon. I talk about the two ships, entrepreneurships and relationships. Twice married, twice divorced. And I've been there, done that, and I pretty much know everything that I need to know to help young brothers become successful. I'm glad you guys are here. And on to my man, Coach.
Bringing to you live from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State. It's a great honor to be at the round table. I call it the round table of excellence. And one of the things we talk about as a licensed therapist from the Tar Heel State, why male wellness is important, but why mental health wellness. And, you know, there's a stigma because, you know, there are a lot of quote unquote woke therapists that more or less make the therapeutic process look very dangerous. And I understand it. But in order to become successful, I always say first start with the mind. So this is a grand occasion where we got esteemed brethren at the round table talking about ways to not only become the better version of yourself, but also understanding what your worth is, also knowing what types of rights that you have. I use the concept of right to self-determination, and it basically means to live your life on your own terms, free of shame, free of guilt, free of harm, and not being minimized by the stigmas that are associated around heteronormative masculinity at these current times. So this is a great honor to be at this esteemed table with some fantastic brothers, and I look forward to the conversation.
Awesome, awesome. I'm Cornell Smith. I'm known as the paternity coach, and in some circles, troublemaker. As a legislative advocate, I help women, men, and families address some very serious issues around questions about who's related to you and what does that look like. Because if you have questions that you can't answer, it can lead to you or somebody you know going to jail and prison for a pregnancy you didn't commit. And the sad part about it is it can happen to everybody here at the table, even if you don't know her. So I believe in helping men with their emotional health, their mental health, and their legal health. Because a lot of times we don't get great outcomes. We don't work effectively with our attorneys. We act like we're adversaries with the person that we need to advocate on our behalf. And when we learn how to do that right and do that effectively, we get better outcomes.
All right, I'm Theo Laff. I've been in the Black Manosphere for about 6-7 years now, Manosphere since 2010. My focus is on helping Black men to work in cloud security, multi-cloud, particularly in AWS and Azure, and to help them actually have wonderful careers remotely so that they can become passport pros. So I'm teaching well over now 300 students. We're trying to get them all employed, and that's our main goal that I'm doing on my side.
All right, lead attorney here. Picking up a little bit where the great fraternity coach left off, kind of giving the more legal side of things, especially when it comes to relationships with women in these marriages. Marriage and divorce are really, really important topic for all of men. A lot of times, marriage is going to be the biggest contract that you're going to enter into, or certainly one of the most significant ones. And most men really don't understand what they're getting into until they're already in it. So I'm just here to give a perspective from a 20-year divorce attorney, kind of let you know what I've seen over these years, some pitfalls that you guys can hopefully avoid so you don't have to learn through trial and error. You can learn from my experience, the experience of some of the other brothers around here, and really start making some quality decisions without having to bump your head too much. All right, so that's kind of my focus here.
Thanks so much for having me. Jason Brown out of Charlotte, North Carolina, better known as the Charlotte Agent. I would say my contribution to the Manosphere would be, of course, the real estate knowledge and investing and buying and selling, but also the property management side, as well as the fitness side. And, muscle. So I'm an all-natural competitor, and I enjoy doing that. So what am I? I'm probably with an honorary member of the Manosphere. I think I kind of got pulled in, but I'm totally excited about the direction of the Black Manosphere because it's totally about Black male excellence. There we go. Black male excellence, and I like the direction it's going in, and those that are behind the wheel, the men across this around this table here are behind the wheel in that. So very excited to be here.
Salute everybody. This is the one of the only Sir Hill Speaks in the middle. We're glad to be here at the Black Manosphere conclave. I've been roped in because of the great work that I see going on. My contribution is, if you're going to be married, there's a way to do it and to do it right. It's an art to it. And a lot of people get married with the fairy tale idea of what it's going to be like and have no idea what it takes. So where I come in at is I coach people on how to do it right. There's a way to love. There's a way to relate. There's a way to be and to grow together. And that's my contribution because if you're going to be married, as lead attorney says, one of the biggest decisions of your life, you got to take it with a degree of seriousness. And you have to have the tools to make it correct. So I'm Sir Hill Speaks, glad that you guys are here. Much respect to the Black Manosphere conclave 2023.
Hello, everyone. I am the sole sartorialist. First of all, it's a privilege to be with these esteemed gentlemen who are doing so much for men on many different avenues. My contribution is as a professional image consultant of over 12 years. I take Black men's ethnic image very seriously and the way we're presented in the media and in life in general. And so if I have the opportunity to empower and encourage and uplift Black men through the way that you present yourself, it is my blessing to be here to share that with you as well. So it's a great event. Support it, uplift each other, and learn something, and continue to give it to the next one as well.
All right. You guys know this is the real Nathan Daly. It is an honor and a pleasure to be amongst these excellent group of Black men, these amazing speakers. As you guys know, I'm a former law enforcement officer with over a decade of police experience. So my contribution is going to be discussing how men can avoid pitfalls. We talked about that earlier. My content for this event is going to be discussing how men need to police their own emotions. One thing we know about excellent men on the rise, is that they don't have control and discipline over their emotions, they can fumble the bag. And this also relates to decisions that we make and women that we make them with. And so I'm going to talk about cases. I'm going to talk about how there are great men who have lost opportunities in life because they didn't make good decisions, and that they were unable to let go of toxic women. So I'm going to give you the reality behind those situations and scenarios. We're going to talk about the data. We're going to talk about the statistics. And ultimately, share with you guys how you can empower yourself to do better by controlling the decisions that you make in life. At the end of the day, I think we're all here to see the empowerment of Black men so that you yourself can avoid the mistakes that we have made and the mistakes that we have seen others make. And I'm excited to be a part of this venture. Thank you so much for those who are behind this operation. And we're going to do facts over feelings. That's what we're all about over here as men. And let's make it happen.
Okay, so this is the third conclave we've done. Yeah. We got started 2 years ago. Jason was there when we first started out, and me and Theo. And I want to ask Theo, because it really is all your fault. So I want to ask you, what gave you the idea to get all this doing? Because a lot of people think that it was my idea, and I don't want to take credit for it. I was brought in by you, but it was really your idea. So how did that all get started?
Basically, I was in Kevin Samuel's group, The Mix, and I was in there. I entered, January 2021, and I was talking with other people in there, and I noticed that my salary was one of the highest salary that was in the group. And I was looking around and I was like, there's a lot of good quality black men in here. Why don't I go ahead and teach cloud security? And there was things that I really wanted to teach about how to do it in the market that I didn't want to say on Facebook or YouTube. So I thought, well, why don't I just go ahead and do a conference, and I could do it in Atlanta, and it cost me about $30,000 to do it. So that was actually the original post. It was between myself and a man named Sir Tice. So we had that conversation, and then we just kept on planning it. We're like, yeah, we're really going to do this. This is really going to happen. So I started getting more structure with this, more organization. Jason was definitely a part of that. Yeah, we're talking about how this is going to work, and then I was like, well, we need a heavy hitter, and Obsidian is in there. And of course, Obsidian is one of the reasons why I joined the Black Manosphere in the first place. It was Obsidian and BGS in 2017. Listened to you guys, and I knew from their podcast that the future of myself and the Manosphere is going to be the Black Manosphere. So I asked Obsidian, he said yes, and wow, that's when it really started rolling. Became real legit. So my view is I do my thing, but everybody else does their thing too. And I'm not controlling about it, am I? I'm totally.
Most days you're pretty good.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just like, okay, you do your thing. And I recognize that everybody has their role to play in this, and they all have something to contribute. And there is no way that I could have made a conference like this on my own. Impossible. So it's really me having a lot of help, a lot of help from other people. So that's how that happened.
I want to ask you a question, Shannon, because you and I talked about this off the mic. And by the way, we're going to do this in classic Clubhouse fashion, popcorn style. So any brothers want to jump in, feel free. Shannon, there is a perception of the Black Manosphere that these black men are kind of like neck-bearded, basement-dwelling losers, nig cells. That's a phrase that has come along, to play on incel with the N in the beginning. And this is something, this perception continues to persist even in the wake of our good friend and brother Kevin Samuels' passing, even with esteemed brothers like yourself, the lead attorney, and others. Why do you think that this persists, and what do you think we're in a position to do about it?
Well, it's pretty clear that what's happening is people are moving the goalposts. It's just that simple. It's interesting you mentioned Clubhouse. So I remember going on Clubhouse one time, and I think I was either defending Kevin or defending the Manosphere in and of itself. And they were saying, all these guys are just sitting around playing 2K and complaining about women on little screen boxes on YouTube, and that's all the black. And I said, no, that's not necessarily the case. In fact, I am a part of the Manosphere. What is the Manosphere? It's not an organized organization. It's not membership dues paying. It's a conglomeration of men. It's a coalition of men that want black men to do better. Well, what are you talking about that you a part of that? Well, we'll say, yes, I am a part of that. Well, no, you're an anomaly, is what they called me. And I said, well, I'm an anomaly. I said, no, I'm not an anomaly. It's just that I may not be the loud minority, and I may not be the example of what you want to complain about. But I am, in fact, Manosphere, because I am a male advocate. That's all it is. I want black men to be better. And and so what they tend to do is they look at brothers like Sir Hale, they look at brothers like Nathan Daly, and they say, you're not part of the Black Manosphere. And I say, well, wait, why is that? Why you don't think those brothers are interested in black men being better? Well, yeah, but the Manosphere is different. Those are weirdos. I said, no, they're not weirdos, because what you're doing is you're disrespecting a whole lot of people that's not speaking as loud as I am.
There you go.
And so what we can do about it is what we're doing right now. Just keep doing what we're doing right now. What I really like, and what they didn't like about Kevin, was that he was everything that women asked for. You brothers are everything that women asked for. And women say, well, you don't count as to what I'm talking about. When in fact, We do. So I'm simply here to say,
Is that cognitive dissonance?
yeah, I'm simply here to say, listen. The Manosphere isn't some group or some, it's not some a bunch of guys sitting in, like you said, the basement dwellers playing, you know, surfing a bunch of porn and looking at video games and whatnot. It's a bunch of people that's doing everything that you ladies, and I'm speaking about women particularly, are asking for. But you can't move the goalposts. In fact, I think now $100,000 ain't enough.
Yes, that's something I discovered on Clubhouse recently. Kevin brought to light the whole high value man, salary, earnings, position, and so forth. And so the goalpost has shifted. And last week, there were ladies on Clubhouse who said with a straight face that, well, if you're a man of you got a certain type of look and you make $120,000, they ain't no money because with the brothers that really matter, they have this kind of height and they have that type of look and they make $300,000 or better. I said, really? They said, yes. If you really don't have the options you think you have, if you ain't got that guy, you're little, and they always like using that word little. You're little, $120,000. You're gonna have to
get one.
Yeah, right. And so I said, okay, well, fair enough. What do you think that should be able to buy, brother? That gets you an average woman. I said, you're really serious about that? He said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So 120K a year is the new 40 grand? Is that what we're saying here? It is what you said, Shannon. It is moving the goalposts. I have my own theories as to why that is, but I'd be interested in hearing what the lead attorney thinks about that.
Well, it's interesting. Oh, thank you. I mean, in one sense, $100,000 per year, that type of salary, it isn't really a lot of money at all. And men don't really realize this until they come to my office to get divorced. If you make $100,000 in a year, well, let's just take 30 off of that for taxes. So now you're 70. But when you get married, every dollar that you earn is split between you and your spouse. Your salary is marital property. So when you earn, your wife is earning too. So if you take half of that $70,000 a year that you paid, that you're going to get, after you get the taxes, now you're at $35,000 a year, which is what? Let's say that's $3,000 a month. Let's say your mortgage is $2,000 a month. So now this woman is married to a man making $1,000 a month. Right? I mean, when you look at it that way, it's not a lot of money at all. There are very few women who would sign up to be with a man making $1,000 a month. And these are some of the ways that marriage, and particularly divorce, can really affect men, but they don't think about these things going in. They just think, oh, she's got these big areolas, I love her. They're not thinking about the financial aspect. They're not thinking about the emotional aspect that they're going to go through if they do get divorced. They're not thinking about the result that's going to happen on these kids. So many men want kids because they say they want to leave a legacy, right? And then it turns out their legacy is visitation every other weekend from Friday to Sunday at 7 p.m. Right? That's not the legacy that they were thinking about. So these are the types of conversations that need to happen. So you can kind of pull back the cover and really see reality. So much of what young men are fed is really just BS. It's just not the truth. It's not serving the men as a community. It's not serving men in an individual capacity. So I think that's why meetings like this are so important, so that we can really talk about reality and have men understand these things on the front end, as opposed to understanding these things on the back end and really going through a lot of pain that they could have avoided.
I want to ask the general panel. Like I said, it's a popcorn thing. Anybody can jump in. The issues. It seems that in Black American society seems to always be kind of like an incubator for the rest of the country. The old adage, white America gets, a cold, and, Black America catches the flu, and that sort of thing. And it seems that once again, we're kind of like the sharp end of the spear. So we've been talking about these issues, at least I have, for nearly a decade, all of you from various points have joined in. I'm noticing our brothers from other mothers are now joining in, and I'm not talking about um, the 21 convention or the white manosphere. I'm talking about people like some of you gentlemen may be familiar with the name. Professor Scott Galloway. He is a professor of marketing out of New York University Stern School of Business. He's starting to talk about issues that we talk about, but aimed at white America. His colleague, Richard Reeves, senior fellow at Brookings, he has a book out of Boys and Men. He's talking about that. What do you guys make of these white major voices in mainstream America now talking about things like the 80-20 rule? They openly talk about how Tinder and various dating apps kind of aggregate female interest and attention to a very small group of men. Talking about how um, white men are facing disenfranchisement in the workforce, something that black men know very well. What do you guys think about these guys? And they take a dim view of Andrew Tate. I haven't heard them mention Kevin, but they come close. Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit. They take a dim view. They say that and they do use the word manosphere, that these guys are just thinly veiled misogyny and that sort of thing. What do you make of these white mainstream tastemakers, if you will, kind of finally acknowledging that there's a there there? What do you guys make of that? Anybody can jump in.
I'll jump in real quick. What I'll say is, I think the reality is that people are starting to realize we're borderlining a national crisis. And I think this is what happens if you're not familiar with the term she-economy, right? There's a concerted effort, one could argue an agenda. We know this country is very corporate in nature and capitalism, and it's about money. It's money over everything. It's profit over people. And what they realize is that if you can separate a home, you can get so much more out of women than you're going to get out of men. Men provide discipline, structure, reality. Not to say sisters don't offer those things or women don't offer those things, but this is essentially crippling our country, right? They're looking at birth rates and things of that nature. You want to see the future of this country and how it's going in decline. You look at Japan, for an example. You look at China, and you see what's going on, and you see what's happening with the women. Unfortunately, for those who don't know, women in this country are 80% of they consume 80% of the consumer debt or consumer spending. That's a big thing. It's a fact that when women are bonded with a man, that they spend less money. This whole thing is about how much money can we squeeze out of women. They are a big part of this problem that's taking place in this country. So I'm not shocked that, to your point, now you have people from other demographics are speaking up now because they're starting to feel the pain. As men, black men, we've talked about, we've pointed these things out. Now it's starting to hit the larger group in this country, and they're starting to see a little sting behind it. And if you are intelligent enough and you have the wisdom and understanding of economics, you could see how this could be a very detrimental thing to society. There's no greater power than family, than a nuclear family. And when we are operating from a mindset of making money, as much money as possible, there's a reason why the snake went after Eve first, right? And I think the reality is it's easy to manipulate people emotionally. And so we're starting to see the outcomes of that, in my personal opinion. Things are out of order. And when things are out of its natural order, there's going to be chaos. And so it's starting, and it's obvious to me, and I know it's obvious to a lot of you guys as well. This is why a lot of the propaganda pushes away from the idea of bringing family together, because people's pockets are going to hurt. Corporations aren't going to be able to manipulate and sell these things. I was actually, quick story, I was in line at Target just a couple weeks ago buying some stuff, trying to get some stuff for the event, and this lady had this she was taking forever, right? And the lady was acting real funny, and I said, First of all, I only had like 6 items. She had like 20, and I'm looking at her like, you know, you gonna just let your boy get, and she wasn't trying to have it. So I was already kind of side eyeing her. So she was buying all this home stuff and all that, and I'm like, damn, that's a lot of stuff. Now Maya was being a little nosy, but she was buying all these things. She's taking a lot of time, and while she was buying stuff in the store, she was on Amazon buying stuff on her phone. And I said, God, dog, you know,
At the same time.
at the same time. And so I just men we handle money, we manage money differently. We know women contribute to a lot of debt, and a lot of unique spending habits. That's by design. It's marketing by design, and it has a negative impact on this country. So anybody want?
Yeah, there's a lot of overlays that's happening, you know, with the conversation because, and I think what I'm beginning to see bubbling up is men of various ethnicities who are having these shared experiences in the Western world are starting to realize that we have something in common.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So you'll have an individual who, for purposes of this scenario, is a young African American male who has listened to Kevin, listened to Obsidian, but also listened to Andrew Tate, listened to Jordan Peterson.
Right.
He may listen to lead attorney because he can go to him for the legal side. He may listen to Jay Waller, you know, for the entrepreneurial side or whatever have you. So it's of no surprise to me that you now have the white men and the manosphere creating that momentum in that side because we're all affected by the same things. Legislation comes down for the rich and the poor, right? It affects everyone. So what's going to be amazing to see is if those leaders ever, or these voices ever come together in a room.
Well, can I jump in?
Yes,
there?
please. Please.
Over 23 years of experience of legislative consulting, I can tell you that you definitely hit the nail on the head. I met a gentleman named Dr. Warren Farrell over 20 years ago. What's interesting about Dr. Warren Farrell, he used to be on the board of directors of the lead feminist group, National Organization of Women. But when he started pointing out how the things that they were advocating for were going to be adverse to family, were going to be hostile toward men and boys, he got booted out. And for over the last, through the last Republican administration and the last Democratic administration, they've been fighting tooth and nail to try to establish a White House council and commission for men and boys. Well, guess what? There's been a commission for women and girls for eons. Do you know we're catching opposition and flack as if we're trying to take the cookie bar from the women when if you look at what's happening, boys are getting left behind. Boys are literally, when you have school districts where boys are not passing
Reading.
basic fundamental skills at a 4th grade level by the time he's a senior in high school, as taxpayers, man, we're getting ripped off, right? But what I can tell you is when the Caucasian brothers, the Indian, and the rest of our fellow American crew, they're like, man, the stuff that you brothers been talking about, we see it now. And I was like, welcome aboard. We have been waiting for you.
Real quick, sir, Harold, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm just thinking about, I'm 36, and all of my life, I've always heard, black men are the only men who talk about their women. Black men are the only one. And that has been used as a tactic to keep black men quiet. Because any form of criticism, even if it's warranted, and from a place of love, is presumed to be attack. And so when you start to look at it in terms of America, whether you're white or black, there are some differences in terms of the way that things are structured. There's some biases, we know that. But at the core, when it comes to relationships and family, men are men, and for the most part, in terms of America, our experience is the same. But I just think it's a direct shot at the statement that black men are the only ones who say something. It's like, no, we got some other brothers who say the same thing as well.
Yeah, that's a red herring statement.
Yeah.
Because they don't expect you to challenge them. Because the whole thing with the shaming tactics is trying to cower you into a position to where you'll just shut up.
Right. Yeah.
But as we have the kosher man here going to be talking about stoicism, man, sometimes you just got to stand on your square. And I've heard the great Kevin Samuels say this. Man, you got to be able to stand on your square, plant your feet, and say, no. Listen, this is something that all of us men and boys are suffering from.
Right.
And there's a reason that I, as a married man of 32 years, support the Passport Bros. I'm like, fellas, if you can't get to where you're being celebrated, and you're barely tolerated, you need to go to a place that you are going to be celebrated. Take your skills, your gift, your talents, and your resources, and your requirements. Yes, your standards are not something that are onerous. Your standards are not something that makes someone to a slave. Can we just say it? A house needs order.
Yeah.
And men as a group are the purveyors of order, structure, and discipline.
And we had Zoom to Thailand here.
Yes.
Right. He was there early. Right. That's my new brother right there.
Let me just say this. I know we got to wrap up because I think all you guys touched on this. I think ultimately what this comes down to is this is an American culture problem.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people say this is something that's going on in
And
the
a
West.
Western problem.
It's a Western
Western
problem.
problem.
And so the culture of this country has changed and shifted to a point to where they believe that, or they teach and they try to teach that men are not valued, that men are not needed, and that women can do without, And so we both need each other, and we both have specific roles to play when we are together. And so they're trying to shift that narrative because it's profitable. And so I love that we're together to kind of push back on that narrative.
Yes.
And I think this is the great way to start to do it.
And be unapologetic on the position.
Absolutely.
I think I need to say something as well, because I think when people see this podcast, they'll say, see, they don't like black women. They don't. I knew it. They don't. We absolutely love and adore our sisters.
Yeah.
But the difference between 2023, 1993, is we have standards now.
Yes.
So some of the stuff that we would tolerate before, because our mamas are black, and because Big Mama was the matriarch of the family, and even because of our Christian values, we have standards now because we matter, and we don't want to keep on dying, going to work 30 years after the meal, retire, and then die in 5 years. We actually want to enjoy our work, and I think it needs to be said because we're quick to hear the part that makes us trigger, and then we stop at actually processing what's being said. We absolutely love our black women, but here's the thing: we need our black women to love us back as well.
And
So
respect us.
in going overseas, it ain't because we're saying because of her skin color. No, it's the way you treat me. And for a man, if you want to get the best out of a man, you treat him with respect and honor. That man will go to the moon for you and back. So I think that needed to be
Well,
said.
real briefly, as we wrap up, it's also predicated under the concept that needs drive behaviors. And what you guys see in this conflagration, not only with white men and black men, is something called the universality of brotherhood. This whole conglomeration was made manifest based on needs-based outcomes. Men weren't getting their needs met, and thus the evolution of the manosphere, because there was never a place for men to go. Dr. Irvin Yalom talked about a concept called in group therapy called the universality of brotherhood. But also, it was sharing evidence. It was comparing the evidence. And what you guys see manifesting now is that men are coming together from diverse backgrounds because they're emoting to a concept called catharsis. They're emoting because they're trying to look for resolve. They're trying to look for solutions. And sadly, now in this whole spectrum of therapy, sadly, I'm not going to castigate the whole profession, but there's a lot of quote-unquote woke therapists. And what it does, it makes men have a negative outlook on the therapeutic process. The therapeutic process is very powerful once you understand the therapist, and once the therapist puts you in the right direction to get you the outcomes that you need. And so, we're trying to change the message. We're trying to change the mindset because conversely, what you guys said, we love black women. We don't like the behaviors associated with black women, sadly, here in the West. And what black men are saying now in mass is that either you're going to get down or you're going to lay down. because we're going to change the conversation. We're going to change the conversation. We're going to get the outcomes that we want, consistent with the right to self-determination, but also a term that I created that parrots the clinical world. It's called Black love without consent. We never consented to ask Black men what they want in relationships. We just make assumptions, and so you can't make an assumption towards if you're the buyer in the relationship. Black love without consent needs to be addressed, and also it needs to be consistent with asking Black men what they want. Because if you ask the buyer, the buyer what he wants, then you're gonna get a better product. But sadly, in the West, like Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. And that's why we continue to have the problem that we're having now. So this conversation is definitely needed.
Well, Jason,
No, I was just going to ask Lead as we close out, because you have a great following, and everyone here I know loves your show and your podcast. Is it that Black men feel that Black women are more of a liability in the dating world than other ethnicities?
Wow.
Is that?
No, I wouldn't say more of a liability. I would kind of frame it in the sense of it's just harder.
Just harder,
Yeah,
just overall harder. Okay.
Yeah, I think that with women in other cultures, their cultures are different, and when we step outside and go into
Your
these
culture is
cultures,
closer to traditional.
yeah, I
per se
mean,
kind of thing?
it would depend on the country, right? Because a lot of people go to when you think about the passport bros, you can think about the Dominican Republic, you can think about Brazil, you can think about Colombia, you can think about Thailand, maybe Mexico. All these different areas have different cultures, right? So I don't want to put a blanket statement out there, but it's different. I lived outside of the United States. I lived in Mexico for about 5 or 6 years, and the experiences that I had there, I would never have in the United States with the way our system and culture is set up. And I don't want to take too long on this, but I really do believe that some of the problems that Black men and Black women are having with each other is really rooted in how we came to this country and kind of what we've been through. When I moved to Mexico, I realized that there wasn't this racism that's here in the United States. And you can say there's no racism like that in Mexico, but to say it and then to feel it are two different things. If you've lived outside of the United States, you can really feel a lack of racism when you talk to these people. Malcolm X talked about that a lot himself, and it's very hard to explain. And I really think that when you're in this country, white men soak up this, racist environment. White women soak up this racist environment. And to be honest, I think Black women soak it up too, and Black men and Black women soak it up. And so when you have a Black woman talking to a Black man in the United States, you have it in this environment where Black men ain't shit, and Black men ain't worth this, and Black men ain't worth that. If you go to a country where there's not that, where the women are not steeped in that environment, you don't get that type of relationship. You don't get that type of mentality. Now, if you say this, a Black woman can say, well, you're punishing me because of the country that I live in and the racism here. You're punishing me, and you're opting for these other women. And it's not about a punishment. It's just an acknowledgement of a fact. And at the end of the day, if Black women want to say, like Halle Berry said, that women don't owe men shit, that's fine. That's fine. But maybe the shoe can be on the other foot as well.
Right. There we go.
And at the end of the day, Black men need to look out for themselves, for their best interests, what they want in a family, and their future, and their legacy to the extent they want that. And I think it's a lot of things like this that kind of need to be considered when we have these conversations. Some of these conversations are going to be very difficult. Some of these conversations are not going to be politically correct, but they're going to involve the truth, and we're all going to be able to learn from them.
How are we on time, Shannon? You like the timekeeper?
Can we just say one thing to just as the end of that is, it is absolutely vital that both sides come to the table in good faith. Because now, my observation as a group, our sisters do not come to the table in good faith. I still see the new man gets prosecuted for Chad Roan, Pookie, Ray Ray, and Road Dogg, who she picked. And then she wants to be no claim to any responsibility for that. And all your black men, you guys are no good. Now, there has to be accountability. Self-introspection. Okay, you know what? I got to do a better job of who I allow in my life and stop blaming the whole group because I don't know how to communicate with men, because I don't know how to pick a quality man. But unless that whole group is willing to come to the table and say, you know what? It's not all on the men's side. Okay, a majority of them to move the needle.
There's so much more that we can discuss. We're going to do that this weekend. Black Manosphere conclave. This is 3.0. We're already laying the early seeds, planting the early seeds for next year. We're going to go to H-Town and hope that everybody here will join us. And looking forward. This is the first day, and we had a bang up production despite the usual technical snafus that come with that. And we're looking forward to a big day tomorrow. Theo, you're up. Looking forward to it, and thank you all for coming here, and thank everybody for watching. And that's it. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And we out.
All right, gentlemen. We'll get you guys in the morning.
Yes.
All right.
Good stuff.
All right.